Today, we'll be presenting and demonstrating a solution for discovering and managing your enterprise data assets. But what's really exciting is that we're going to show you how you can do this across both structured and unstructured data sources using one common catalog. We're going to be conducting this webinar today with our longtime business partner, Integro. By way of introductions, my name is Mike Gizzi. I'm the IBM Analytics Worldwide Unified Governance Sales Leader. And joining me today is Integro's Vice President of Consulting, Jason Brandis. Also joining us is Ernie Ostick, who is our IBM Information Governance Specialist. And finally, Jay Lindburn, who is an IBM Distinguished Engineer and Director of Offering Management, will talk about what's coming, even beyond the exciting capabilities that we're going to show you today. Now, I realize that many of you are familiar with our IBM Analytics solutions, but some of you may not be. So to get started, I want to provide a very quick framework. IBM Analytics is about data. It's about making data useful and valuable to all the consumers of the data in your organization, harnessing the power that lies within that data to automate and innovate and unlock insights. It's about using your data to transform your business and ultimately give you a competitive edge. Now, there are three pillars of IBM Analytics. The first is hybrid data management, which includes multiple options for collecting data. And examples of this are IBM DB2, DB2 Warehouse, or one of our data appliances. But the solution that we're going to show you today, and is part of our second analytics pillar, is Unified Governance and Integration, often referred to as UGI. UGI is a critical part of building an analytics architecture. It's for organizing the data after it's been collected, to find, to catalog, and make the data compliant where required, and to leverage machine learning wherever possible. Finally, the third pillar is data science and business analytics. This is to use the collected and organized data for the purpose of deriving advanced analytics to drive business insights. And I'm sure that many of you are familiar with our Cognos, Watson Analytics, or SPSS solutions. And across all of our analytics solutions, our environment is open and extensible, running heterogeneously either behind your firewall or on public cloud. Now let's dig a little deeper into our unified governance and integration solutions. UGI is the cornerstone of building a trusted analytics foundation. It's about making your data trusted and valuable. Or said another way, IBM Unified Governance and Integration enables making your data business ready. You can't adhere to a regulatory standard unless you have organized and governed data. And you can't derive business altering insights from your data unless it's trusted and accessible. So let's dig a little deeper. It's an integrated platform that provides a robust set of capabilities to do things such as integrate, replicate, govern, analyze, archive, and master data. And on top of providing the most robust and integrated data governance platform, there are other key capabilities worth mentioning. The first has to do with the scalability of our integration solution. It supports parallel processing and is massively scalable. And in addition to having an open, extensible platform, and pertinent to our discussion today, we support the analysis of a large number of data sources out of the box. This is really important because corporations' enterprise data, as you know, comes from many sources. Also related to our discussion today, we have pre-built industry data-specific models to help automate the definition of business terms across your enterprise. And this year, as part of our platform strategy, we introduced an attractive, flexible pricing model where you can purchase a single part number and then mix and match usage of any or all of the unified governance and integration products to suit whatever usage needs your organization has. But the real unique differentiator that this event is focused on is how you discover and manage all enterprise data, both structured and unstructured, in one place, and how to do this using one common enterprise information catalog. So for the analysis of structured data sources, we have Information Analyzer, which is part of our information server solution. Information Analyzer analyzes the content, structure, and overall quality of structured data. It discovers details about your data and provides automatic classification of that data, and that includes relationships. This forms the basis of your enterprise vocabulary that is managed within our information governance catalog. Now, this solution to create an enterprise catalog for structured data has been part of our information server capability for some time. But what about unstructured data? All organizations have a ton of it, and I'm sure that the sources and volumes of your organization's data is growing significantly. Emails, file shares, data on desktops, data in Word and in PowerPoint are all examples of unstructured data. StoredIQ is our solution there. It enables you to discover, analyze, and act on over 100 unstructured data sources. And it does this without having to move the data. But what is really powerful about our integrated solution is that the data analyzed and classified by StoredIQ can be made available to the Information Governance Catalog. And any classification refinement done in IGC can be reflected back in StoredIQ. Through this integrated solution, you can get a unified view of your enterprise assets, or in other words, a glossary of terms. Then you can explore, understand, and analyze your data. And because you're creating, managing, and sharing a common business language, you can document policies and rules for all of your data. Ultimately, providing the opportunity for enterprise governance across all of your business assets. This is really cool stuff. Now I'm gonna pass it on to Jason Brandis. Jason is gonna take you through StoredIQ. Jason.
Thanks, Mike. So what is StoredIQ? So first of all, hello. My name is Jason Brandis. I'm Integro. I will be doing a brief overview of StoredIQ. So what is StoredIQ? It's a very scalable search engine, but it's much more than that. It allows companies to discover, analyze, and act on their unstructured data wherever it resides. StoredIQ can index in place without ever moving or modifying the user's production data. This data can reside, as Mike mentioned, on over 100 different platforms, but this includes Office 365, Mail, SharePoint, OneDrive, or on-prem, or it can do file shares, Box, or even workstations and unstructured data on laptops and numerous other data sources. Using a scalable search engine like StoredIQ allows in-depth analysis across data that resides on multiple platforms from a single pane of glass. StoredIQ is not limited to just finding data. It can also take action on the data, regardless of its location, including copy, move, delete, or declare as a record. I'm now going to show a brief demo. So when we talk about this, we're going to have to cover some basic topics. So in this case, I've logged in, and I'm logged onto the data workbench for StoredIQ. There's a concept of an info set. There's two types of info set: a system, which is really the volume or the actual data source. Office 365, we're doing Exchange or a file share, or a user info set, which is really the results of a search. So I'm going to select a user info set. I'm going to go to my Refine pane. My Refine pane is really my 35,000-foot view of my data set. As you can kind of see here, I have a significant amount of email. When I roll over it, I get a brief count of, I have 650,000 file shares that are all email. When I click on that, I can see my data ancestry. As you can see, it predominantly comes from two general locations. I'm not limited to just looking at this type of data. So let's say, as you can see, I have a little bit of Exchange over here and a little bit of SharePoint. So I'm not interested in my file shares at this time. So I'm going to deselect my file shares. And again, you can see this dynamically changed to show what I'm showing. As you can see here, I have my Exchange. Again, by rolling over, I have about 16,000 emails in Exchange. And again, I have a certain amount of word processing documents. I can also change my view here. So right now I'm showing the category, what type of data, where's the location that's coming from. But I can also show other different types of data, whether it be created view, last modified. If I was created on last modified or created view, you can see that I'm getting a different view here. I'm showing ancestry. In my demo environment that only has about 680,000 documents, it's only about 25 gigs, you see I have limited. But in a production environment, we can scale to hundreds of terabytes of data, and you can have billions of items. And again, very quickly be able to review where that data is at. So one of the key things that you need to show, of course, is the ability to discover and to be able to search and analyze that data. So I'm going to quickly move over and really talk about the highlights of what we're going to be looking for. So in this case, as you can kind of see, I have a very friendly GUI interface for doing searches. So I'm going to do a standard use case scenario, which might be looking for a file type. So in this case, I'm going to look for PST files. Look for PST files. I can go out and search for those. So what's important about StoredIQ is the fact that when I'm searching, and in this case, I'm just searching for PST, I could be searching for PDFs or Word files or anything of that nature, that StoredIQ understands what it's actually looking at. So it understands that we're looking at a PST or a zip file or a tar.gz file. It's actually a compressed file. So not only does it look at the PST file, it actually opens up that PST and looks for the contents inside of it. For PST, it's MSG. But it doesn't end there. It actually opens up those MSG files and says, oh, are there attachments on that? And let's say there was a zip file as an attachment. It actually opens up that attachment in the zip file and indexes that. And let's say there was a Word document and there was a spreadsheet embedded on the Word document. It'll actually go open and index that spreadsheet in addition. So again, you have this kind of spider effect that's very powerful when you're looking at large sets of data. And so when I move on, I'm going to move, as I can see, I get a quick preview of the data that I'm looking at. I'm going to go through the next few, and I'm not going to belabor these in any great format, but just kind of talk about them in general. So you can kind of see I have a standard, one of the standard things that we're looking for is a data cleanup. So whether we're looking for files of a given size or a date range, when we're talking about records, a lot of times we're looking for things that are greater than 7 years old, or we're talking about very large files. It's important to realize that we're going to find just about everything out in our environment. Whether we're looking for, when we're doing data cleanup, we're going to be finding things like movie files. People have downloaded their entire iTunes library. You're going to find install files, tax returns. In many cases, I've found log files that are in excess of 50 gigabytes just because they've been left on and haven't been turned off. And it's really important to realize that our unstructured data and our file shares has really become a data swamp. It's just filled with lots of data. So data cleanup and trying to identify sensitive data has really become a key focus of many companies. So again, we're here, we're doing date searches. We can do size searches if we're looking for, and of course we can find custodians. One of the primary focuses of this product will be a legal discovery. When I move to our primary searches, we're looking at full text. So when we're looking at full text, it's important to realize that we can do any type of Boolean search. So in this case, I'm looking for contract within 5 words of fraud. This is a standard kind of search you might do. And again, by a click of a button, I can get previews on that. So StoredIQ supports all forms of Boolean searches. So those are ands and ors and nots and nors and all of that. And in this case, what I'm showing is a proximity search. I can do pre and post. In addition to that, we can also do all sorts of regular expressions. So if I was trying to find any type of pattern matching, I can go out and find a pattern. So many times we're working for insurance companies, first 2 letters might be the state, the next 2 might be the type of file, and the next 8 digits is actually the contract number. So again, I can search for any type of pattern matching. In addition to that, there's also some built-in macros to StoredIQ. So in this case, if we're looking at doing sensitive data cleanup, I want to find all Social Security numbers. So in a structured data environment, you usually can find that. There'll go in your schema, there'll be something like government ID or social security number. But in an unstructured data environment, it can be almost anywhere. So when we're looking for this, we're looking at all of the data. And again, this is very powerful. We're looking across platforms. We're looking in Exchange. We're looking in SharePoint. We're looking at file shares. You look in Documentum. Numerous other data file sources, as Mike mentioned, over 100 that we can look at and investigate from a single pane of glass. In addition to doing that, one of the bigger compliance things that we're looking for is compliance. So the new regulations are really driving certain types of investigations. So of course, there's new compliance from the EU, Canada, there's new regulations from California and Singapore in just the last few months. So in this type, you're actually trying to find an individual, trying to do a SAR request or a personal information request. So in that, if I was just looking for, say, Jeb Bush, I could go out here and just search for that person's name. So again, if I was trying to find that, I simply click out, and again, across multiple platforms, I'm finding Jeb Bush's information. In addition to that, while I show that you can get the preview, you can actually preview these documents. So I'm looking at these documents, I can get a very quick idea of whether these are the right ones I'm looking for. So in this case, I'm looking for Jeb Bush's email, and of course you can very quickly see this is a pretty innocuous one from YMCA Youth, but again, Jeb Bush is in there. So if I was looking for a request for personal information on where I have it, StoredIQ is a key component to that ability to search for that content. So I'm going to switch gears a little bit here. I'm going to close this. Go back to my dashboard. But StoredIQ is actually added, and IBM has spent a lot of time building new facets and new features for this product. So in addition to doing just searching for a name, StoredIQ has this concept of cartridges, which are very advanced searches that allow us to search for ambiguous kind of terms. So in this case, when I'm searching for a term, I can search for a lot of different terms inside of my environment. So as you can kind of see, they've built these cartridges to help us facilitate the ability to provide and to respond to different types of information requests. So you can see we have cartridges that are searching for bank accounts, national ID numbers. So we're used to the social security number and maybe SIN numbers up in Canada, but we also can search for the national insurance number in the UK or the national ID number in Germany from a simple kind of search, a single keyword search, and we can go out and search for that type of information. So in this case, I'm going to search for a person and an address. So again, any person and any address. This is key because not only is it just searching inside the United States, you can also search for any name, user, address. It's across all of the EU, North America, and certain Asian countries. Again, like here, we're saying person and address. If I select my data, I can very quickly show that it's going to find any type of address. We're all very comfortable with the, street address and name. Not all countries are that way. In fact, this will find things in Utah and different countries that use a grid pattern for your address. So in this case, as you can see, I have Cole, not finding a US address, but it's actually finding a Canadian address up in Ontario. So the last thing I want to talk about searching is really this last concept of auto-classify. So everything I've done so far is really based upon doing keyword searches or doing very robust kind of cartridge searches where the end user doesn't have to know anything about what they're searching for. They can just simply type in a pre-done search looking for any address, any organization. This last search is a little different. Instead of doing searches by keywords or by terms, we're really doing it by samples. So content classification and auto classification is really, you're providing it samples of, let's say, research and development documents. So if I provide the system 50 research and development documents, it will make a mathematical fingerprint of those documents. And instead of using keywords, it'll take those 50 samples and try to find other documents that are like that. And let's say I was interested in research documents and I want them to make sure that they're at least 80% like the sample documents that I found. Again, this is just a different way of doing searching than we're used to. Instead of just using keywords and terms and custodians, we're actually providing samples to the system and then doing a search based on that. So we've talked about Discover, the ability to index information from different locations. We've now talked about the ability to analyze it. Last thing, of course, we're going to talk about is action. So there's a lot of built-in actions. I've previously already discussed about the GDPR cartridges, which provide very advanced searching that can be accessible to any user. And I've mentioned, we can do copy. We can copy to different record solutions. While you can use a IBM-based solution like FileNet, we've also done where we've moved it out to like SharePoint records. We do legal exports. We can do deletion. We can move to file. We can move actually out to FileNet and declare it as a record and a true record repository. And I haven't mentioned it yet, we can also do a full text step up. As I mentioned before, we really do have this concept that our unstructured data is really becoming a data swamp. Companies have petabytes and petabytes of information. They really have no way to access it. When we're looking at petabytes, we may not actually need a full text index right up front. First example I showed was looking at PSTs. We can actually just do a metadata index. And after we find the respondent data that we're looking for, we can make an info set and then full text index it at a later time so we can go really and dig into it. One of the last things I want to mention here in this brief overview is the concept of reporting. So StoredIQ is going to provide all sorts of reports. There, data topology report where we can show who's using what, where you're using storage, which users are using storage, and how much. Duplicate summary reports. We can identify duplicates across the entire system, not just within a single file share, but across multiple file shares. We also have the ability with some support applications to allow you to single instance store that without ever changing the end user's experience. And if these don't meet your needs, we also have the ability to have custom user reports. In addition to that, all actions in this utility in StoredIQ are actually being tracked. So we have a full audit capability of everything that's being done. Okay, I'd like to switch gears again and go back to the slide deck. I think I have one more slide. So again, we're talking here as we move over to StoredIQ Insights. So currently StoredIQ Insights is just for technical preview at this time, but within the next month, it'll actually be a full production availability. So as you kind of saw before in my presentation, when I clicked on documents, I got a very, very basic view of the document, just to review it enough to determine whether it was the right document, an HTML rendering. StoredIQ Insights is really taking us to the next step. It's allowing Elasticsearch and it's providing us multiple facets on it. So we can not only just search terms and get search results back and find those documents, we also have facets based on it. So again, if I showed above, if you were looking for a credit card number, not only does it just bring up those documents that had a credit card number, it's actually taking a snippet of text within inside of that document saying, here's where we found the credit card number. And this is very important. We have a lot of clients that are searching for credit card numbers or for social security numbers. And they say, great, I found it in that document, but it's a 40-page PDF. Where is it? How is it? And that relationship to the rest of the data, where it's located, and its context to that social security number is very important. And again, this allows us the ability to quickly view and preview those documents so you can make decisions, whether you're looking for regulation requirements or whether you're just trying to do sensitive data cleanup or declaring records. And there's not just those facets. There's facets based on size and its location. And again, by selecting those facets, you immediately switch your view of how you're looking at it. So I'm now going to hand it over to Ernie to continue on.
Thank you, Jason. So Jason's shown us all the power that StoredIQ has to find and locate and identify and classify your unstructured data. Now we're going to see how this comes together for a complete governance solution. And those of you that are familiar with the Information Governance Catalog know how it will help you to manage and govern your structured information, that which you have in databases and files and business intelligence reports, and of course, bring that all together with the business metadata you have in your business terms and the benefits of assigning labels and establishing stewardship and responsibility. All of that now comes to your unstructured data as well. So Information Server with IBM StoredIQ provides a very elegant integration into the Information Governance Catalog. Been around our Information Governance Catalog for a long time. We've seen lots of different interfaces. This is one of the most elegant that I've seen in terms of really making it a hands-off exercise and employing what we like to call first-class assets, so that everything that Jason showed us, info sets and volumes, and the detailed metadata that goes into the tens of thousands of unstructured documents, or the particular regex expression that's needed to identify a collection of those assets within an info set, are metadata properties that are elevated and surfaced inside of the Information Governance Catalog. Now, not all of the users in your environment are going to want to see those kinds of details that perhaps those that are working directly with the unstructured data want to see. But from an overall governance perspective, as you're looking at the collection of metadata across your enterprise, you will want that summary information and be able to establish the governance and responsibility that we talked about with labels and custom attributes and term assignment, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So the synchronization from StoredIQ happens automatically. It's actually on a timing basis, and I'll take a look at the architecture and technology in just a moment. But it's enabled because of the powerful APIs that are available within IGC that allow StoredIQ to push metadata on a periodic basis into the IGC environment. And then what really makes this especially elegant is that this is a bidirectional relationship, so that the governance team can actually make adjustments, if desired, to a regex expression that will then generate a cartridge, as Jason described, within StoredIQ to go back and reinitiate a new search. Perhaps we decide that the regex expression that's identifying a particular customer number or inventory number or other important value that we'd like to do the custom searching on, and it will go back and make that proactively from IGC, and it does that as a part of the event infrastructure that's within Information Server. So let's take a look at how that actually appears. So as you can see here, we see the architecture with the light green boxes representing the StoredIQ operation, and the box on the left in light blue shows the Information Server with Information Governance Catalog. And it's through a Kafka topic that the events are recognized once you make a change within IGC, so that StoredIQ can pick it up and review it and make changes. So StoredIQ is constantly monitoring that. Now you notice there towards the bottom of the bullets there, the synchronization can be scheduled, but it defaults to every 5 minutes, so that as a user of StoredIQ is collecting and qualifying more unstructured assets, every 5 minutes, there's going to be an automatic update that comes over to IGC by default, but that's certainly adjustable. Now, as I said earlier, the assets that are created are what we call first-class assets. So as we're going to see, for those of you that are familiar with the Information Governance Catalog, there will be a new tree area and new asset types that you can review with the kinds of detail pages that you're already familiar with and using within the tooling. What's equally important is that it then appears throughout the rest of the Information Governance Catalog environment. So you can now run queries against your unstructured metadata as you would with any others, and do searches even within the Information Governance Catalog environment at the same time that you're also looking at the metadata and performing governance on your structured information. So once again, the very key benefits that this is providing is the ability to have your unstructured and your structured metadata all in one place, governed in one place, and under the same umbrella of the governance work that you're already heavily into. Just a few more details I want to steal from the demo. I'm actually going to show you these things, so we'll move on. But one piece of the demo that I do want to identify on this next slide is the part where I was saying when a member of the governance team decides that perhaps they might need to make some changes, they'll actually identify it through a data class. Data class is a aspect of IGC that's been around for a long time, where we identify an item as a customer number, or perhaps it's identifying a detailed piece of data like a particular credit card value. And these things are part and parcel to everything that Information Governance Catalog helps classify along with Information Analyzer. And now the benefits that StoredIQ does in classifying its data become part of that same space. And we'll take a look at how that works. So at this point, what I'd like to do is go through and show you a demonstration. Okay, so what we're looking at here is the main page for the Information Governance Catalog that I'm sure many of you are familiar with. We come here as a default when we first log in. And if you're familiar with Information Governance Catalog, you know that we can actually look at the different kinds of metadata that we have available to us within the governance system and look at the individual hierarchies for these different types. You'll see that there's a new one now called unstructured data sources. And when we identify this, we see the different types, many of these that Jason showed us during his earlier demo. The ultimate environment or system we have for our StoredIQ installation. And then we have various asset types here that we can go and take a look at. So one of these is a volume. So sort of at the largest scale, this is representing a volume for box. You have a detailed page like you're all familiar with within the Information Governance Catalog. We see that it has a context of what it belongs to. And this one in particular has a label. It's saying that there is personal data, which may be important to many of you that are meeting your GDPR regulations for personal information. So there's been a label that's been assigned to that by our governance team. We can open up some of the details and see the particular properties that are here, and we can see the metadata, the number of assets. As Jason mentioned, this could be extremely large number of assets that have been qualified. We see 18+ million that are in here and the total size. And we do have the ability, if the systems are interconnected, that we could jump right over to StoredIQ if we have the credentials and rights to be able to go ahead and do so. Now the info sets are the individual collections of documents that actually some of them being a participant on this particular volume. And they've been identified, as Jason mentioned, by the particular search criteria that was used. So we're going to see this one, these ones are happily identified by certain regex expressions. When we go in here and look at a particular info set, we'll see now that this is an info set that was identified for different documents containing customer number data. We see some of the detailed metadata from StoredIQ itself again, right? It has certain size, number of assets, person who actually did the work in the creation within StoredIQ. But then we see also the added value metadata that is coming from IGC itself. So we have a business term, customer identifier. Once again, we have our label. And of course, customer identifier could be a business term that's pointing to your database tables and your files or your XML schemas or your business reports sitting in Cognos or other tooling. If we scroll down here further, we see, again, the volumes that this customer number info set might be across. So we can see Box, and there's probably some SharePoint or other file systems out here. So it gives us a summary of that. And of course, like all parts of IGC, it's fully navigable. I could click on one of these, or if I just wanted to see some quick details, I could hover over it and get some of the immediate qualifiers from there. And certainly, though, I want to see what this data class is all about. So if I hover over the data class, we'll see that this data class is also assigned to a term. It has my regular expression, and it's applicable to all data. Well, that means that it's potentially a regex expression that can be used against structured as well as unstructured information. But let's go take a look at this data class in a little bit more detail by going to its page. So we see some of the unstructured information that's important to it. It's actually set up for a column called client ID in this particular table. But when we get down here into more detail to look at the regular expression itself, we can see again here that it's applicable to all data. Well, where we get the opportunity to fine-tune this, if I knew enough about wanting this search to change and basically invoke more searching within StoredIQ, I can edit this data class and scroll down to where I can identify and play with or work with the regular expression. Obviously, this is editable at this point if I have the right credentials. And I can also establish that perhaps I need a regular expression that's only for unstructured or for structured, or in my particular case here, it's for both. But I certainly have the opportunity to isolate that if I want to. And if I were to click save here, that is when an event would take place, put a message out into a special Kafka topic where StoredIQ would see it and immediately act upon it, thus creating the full circle and bidirectional relationship between Information Governance Catalog and StoredIQ. What I'd like to do now is turn this over to Jay to take a look at some of the additional things we're doing with our governance platform.
Thanks, Ernie. Okay, so you've heard how IBM's brought together the world of structured data and unstructured data. What I'm going to talk about now is how we can use the information that we've collected within StoredIQ and within Information Governance Catalog and turn that into metadata that we can put into the hands of the consumers. And we do that through our integrated data catalog offering. Next chart. So as you can see on the left-hand side of this diagram, we've got Information Server, which includes the Information Governance Catalog. And that's great for being able to capture and govern all of the information that we have across the enterprise. But where we really want to get this to is be able to put this information that we've gathered into the hands of the individuals in our business that can then derive value from it. The data scientists, the business analysts, and the line of business users that have a thirst for data and need to easily be able to find and discover information. And our integrated catalog capability, called the Watson Knowledge Catalog, operates against that same metadata that you've captured, but it provides it to your end users and your knowledge workers in an easily consumable format so they can easily find data and then focus on becoming productive with that data. Next slide. And what this really allows you to do is it allows you to, for the first time, really move your business towards a data-driven business and allow you to really extract monetary value from your data. There's a huge amount of data science organizations that are currently being created and spun up alongside existing ones, and they all have a thirst for data. Those data science organizations, those analytics organizations, are spending too much time looking for information. You have all of that information captured inside your metadata management systems, but your business users and your data scientists aren't able to get access to it and find that information in an intuitive, integrated way. And so by providing this integration with metadata management and data catalogs, it really allows you to reuse the investments and all the hard work that you've done to capture the information and now open it up for those insights that can be derived from it. And that allows you to, for the first time, really be able to put your data in the place and position so that it can then drive those revenue opportunities, change those business models that you're trying to do, and ultimately fend off competition. Okay, so how do we do it? All right, so if you think about what you've just seen in those demos today, you have all of the important collection and understanding of information that's being done as you harvest the metadata from across the enterprise. With what's the knowledge catalog, we integrate through synchronization of that metadata. So that metadata gets synchronized into the what's the knowledge catalog. And then the what's the knowledge catalog provides a business user-friendly interface that captures all of the characteristics, all of the classifications that have been used inside the metadata management system and apply it to the findability of data so that individuals can find that data easily. What we can also do is we can activate our governance program. We allow you to enforce policies in data so that you can use the understanding of what the data is alongside the rules that have been created as part of the governance program and allow you to determine whether data should be masked as it's being consumed, etc. Okay, next chart. So, I want everybody to think how the three key things we've seen here around how we can bring information governance catalog and StoredIQ together, allow us to have a rich understanding of structured and unstructured information, and then finally, with the what's the knowledge catalog integration, put that information in the hands of the people that can then derive the value from it. And there's lots of information on these links that you can follow to read more about that. And with that, I'll pass back to Mike.
Thank you, Jay, and thank you, Jason and Ernie, and thank you, all attendees. We appreciate you attending our web event today, and we hope that you all found it informative and useful. Thank you again, and have a great day.